Chapter 5, Section 7. Inequalities in two triangles. And we're going to talk about the Hinge Theorem today. The Hinge Theorem. The Hinge Theorem states that if two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle, and their included angles are not congruent. Okay? If two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle, and their included angles are not congruent, then the longer third side is opposite the larger included angle. Stop tapping your feet, please. That is the Hinge Theorem.
What does that mean?
I'm going to show you.
Wait.
That means if you got a triangle and another triangle, quit tapping your feet. Two sides of one congruent to two sides of another, right? Okay. The included angles are not congruent. Okay? Then the longer side is going to be opposite the larger angle. Okay? So you can say that AB is greater than CD. Who's tapping their feet? Is that you, Zach? You're going to go stand outside if you keep it up. Knock it off. Okay? The longer side is opposite the larger angle. Okay? What? Now, the converse of that theorem, two sides of one triangle congruent to two sides of another triangle. If that was 13 and this was 14, and this was angle A and this was angle X,
Angle X is bigger.
Angle X is larger than angle A. Okay? That's the converse of the theorem. Now the larger angle is going to be opposite the longer side. Okay? Any questions? Good. Look at page 355, problem number 3. 355, problem number 3 looks something like here. Alright, that's same as that. This is 60. This is 5x minus 20 degrees. And 10 and 15. Now the question is, find the range. Find the range of values for x. Alright, what do you know about the 5x minus 20 and the 60? What's the relationship here? You got a 5x minus 20 and you've got a 60. How do they relate to one another? Well, the sides opposite of the two aren't congruent, so the angles can't be congruent. But you've got two triangles, and you've got two sides of one triangle congruent to two sides of another triangle. The included angles are not congruent because the sides opposite those aren't congruent. So what do you know about the 5x minus 20? How does it relate to the 60? It is less than the 60, isn't it? Okay. Now, here's where you got to set up what's called a compound inequality here. 5x minus 20 is less than 60, but it's also greater than 0. That creates your range of values for x. You got to have a compound inequality to find a range.
So you know 16 is greater than 5x minus 20
Because
because of the side?
the 15 is bigger than the 10. Remember, two triangles with two congruent sides. The included angles are not congruent. But the bigger one is opposite the bigger third side. Okay? So now the 5x minus 20 is less than 60, but it's obviously greater than 0. This angle measure is greater than 0. So you add 20 everywhere. So 20 is less than 5x, which is less than 80. Bless you. You divide everything by 5. That's already a minus 20, so you add 20. So 4 is less than x, which is less than 16. That's your range of values for x in this case. Greater than 4, less than 16. Isn't that cool?
Will the arrows always stick to the same? Or would the negative change?
When you set this thing up, you're always going to point both arrows to the left. You just gotta. We're going to do another one here in a second where the variable is going to be greater than the other angle.
I think she means if you divide it by a negative, a number will flip like usually if you do.
Yeah, if this was a negative in here, and you divided everything by a negative, you got to change both arrows. Any questions on that problem?
Why is it both negative?
I don't know. It's easier to do it this way, though. Okay, watch. Let's do another one, class. Yay! All right. Two sides of one triangle congruent to two sides of another triangle. 3x plus 18 degrees. And, well, let's make it 120. Now, let's make it okay? So now, your 3x plus 18 is what in relation to the 120?
Greater.
It's greater than the 120. But you got to have the compound inequality to get a range, right? So less than, very good, 180. This has to be less than 180 because it's an angle in a triangle, isn't it? All three of them have to add up to 180, so it's got to be less than 180. Okay? No, not really. Look at the other one. Look at the other one. The other one said that 5x minus 20, this was the beginning, is less than 60, right? Well, if it's less than 60, it's got to be bigger than something else. It's got to be bigger than 0. You can't have an angle measure of 0. Okay? Because 60 is not less than, because the 10 is less than the 15. So the 60 is bigger than this. Included angle opposite the longer side.
Yeah, but like how you said 5x has to be less than something.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't 60 have to be less than something?
No. No, the 60 doesn't have to be less than anything. That angle, you're going to write a relationship between these two angles. You knew that 5x minus 20 was less than 60, right? Once you set up that portion of the inequality, since 5x minus 20 was less than 60, you had to make it greater than something. Okay? You make it greater than 0. In this problem, you made your 3x plus 18. 3x plus 18 is greater than 120 because of this third side, right? So you had set up this portion of the inequality. Now, it's got to be less than something. And it's got to be less than 180 because it's an angle in a triangle. And they would all sum 180. Therefore, one of them has got to be less than 180. Subtract 18 everywhere. What's that, 102? It's less than 3x, which is less than 162. Divide everything by 3. Somebody get a calculator out, please. This one is 54.
And the other one is 34.
34. So x is greater than 34 and less than 54. Y'all need to sit up. The whole row. That whole row needs to sit up. Questions?
Nope.
Question?
Nope.
Oh, just you weren't here when we started. I just wanted to make sure you understood. Any volunteers?
I'll try.
We'll make that, let's see, that, and that, that, and that, and pick a number.
8.
Alright, so now the setup here. You start with your 4x plus 10. How does it relate to the 70?
Greater than.
It's more than the 70. It's greater than the 70 because the 24 is greater than the 20. So this is greater than 70 and less than 180. Very good. Now, let's just say for argument's sake that this is 19. Now you would start with 4x plus 10 is less than 70, but greater than 0.
Just arranging the problem according to the direction that
Arrows are always going to go left.
So I was going to go for
The variable that you're solving for is always going to be in the middle. Okay? These were the two given, right? If the two given fill up the left and the middle, then you write in a 180. If the two given fill up the middle and the right, then you add in a 0. Okay?
So it's anywhere between 180 and 0.
Yeah. Better? You're welcome. Page 356. Number 1. Number 2. 6 through 12. 14 through 16. And number 21. Make sure you check Edline for homework. Make Ed your best friend. Get it, Ed? Line? His last name's Line. That is funny.